So now what do I do? Well, I guess there's only one thing. There's something I'd like to know. Are you real? Can you feel?
Hi friends, I'm Prairie Vintage. My name's Linda. I'm an energy intuitive reader here on YouTube. I use spirits and my intuition, the tarot, to communicate energies to you guys, most fabulous viewers. If you guys are new to this channel, welcome. I am so blessed that you found me, and I hope that this reading does resonate for you guys. For those of you guys who are returning, I'm so grateful, and I cannot wait to get into your reading today. You guys are all very safe and welcome in this space with me today. Today's reading, we'll be taking a look at putting all the pieces together for the connection that you may or may not be struggling with, okay, at this time. So this could be any connection. The strongest connection will pull through this reading. Okay, so Spirit generally knows what you're needing to hear, and it could bypass your free will, which is annoying. Okay, sometimes soul bonds are contractually obligated, and they override the free will of the body and the lesson that the soul has chosen. So this could be triggering, okay? And like I always say, if you're triggered, good, although it always comes across like I'm trying to do it. Good meaning now we have something to look at and work with, okay? If we're sort of challenged, it could mean that there's things we're not understanding, seeing, refusing to accept or review, or just completely out of our consciousness, because we're trying to protect ourselves, the ego, okay? And so this is going to be outlining the connection and everything that might be missing so that we could put the pieces together, okay? Big endeavor here for me because I'm going through a very intense Kundalini energy session, and yeah, I don't know why Spirit's putting me through this, but I don't ask why. Like I said, the soul has chosen, even though the body is refusing, denying, and wanting to go to sleep. So I won't go to sleep. I will do this reading. I won't ask why. And I do promise to deliver to you guys whatever it is that I'm seeing here, okay? We're specifically looking at all the pieces that might be missing and putting it all together for you. So you might have part of the puzzle, part of the picture, part of the mystery. Okay, if there's no mystery, if you're hunky-dory, then there's no need to be here, okay? This energy for this reading is going to be for specific connections. Not everyone is going to resonate, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not connecting to all of the whole universe, okay? So this is a pick a card reading. These are the three options to choose from. We have the selenite heart sculpture here, spiral sculpture. And that would be option one. Option number two, we have the gem, glass gem paperweight. Okay, and then for option number three, we have the white sage bundle. Okay, so these are the decks I'll be using for today's reading. I'll put a link right here for those of you guys who want to energetically charge these decks for future readings so that the readings will resonate a little more accurately for your energy. Okay, remember, energy isn't sitting on a linear timeline, and so you can charge these cards whenever and allow our energy to connect in order for there to be more resonance with your readings. Okay, and for those of you guys who are just interested in the cards in these decks, then you can go check out that playlist. All right, so I will put timestamps below. I'll leave these three options here, and when you are ready, select from 1, 2, or 3. If you're pulled to multiple, it could be overlapping energies of the same connection. It could be multiple connections pulling through, and it could be reversed energy, meaning it's predominantly coming from the flip side. So your energy could be coming through when I'm like attributing it or ascribing it to your person. And then when I say it's you, it could be your person. So just keep that in mind, okay? But don't force any messages. Don't try to make it be something it's not. And if it's shocking, it's definitely not your pile, okay? It should be something that resonates with your intuition. All right, and I will see you at your picks. Hello, gorgeous angel, pile number 1. I'm so blessed to be here. And if you skip the intro, go listen to the disclaimer, okay? All my readings generally come with some form of a disclaimer because every reading's different and I don't want to catch you off guard, okay? If you are easily triggered or just not ready for this type of message, it might not be your reading today, and that's absolutely fine, okay? This is the option you chose, which is the selenite sculpture, spiral sculpture. Absolutely beautiful. Reminds me of the Stanley Cup. Okay, so what are we doing? We're going to be taking a look at putting all the pieces together for the connection that you're in. Okay, and whatever connection this is, a soul bond, a soul tie, spiritual connection, WTF connection, you're not sure, but it's confusing or just triggering or mystical or whatever. We're going to put some practical energy to the mystical experience if we can and get you some peace of mind, okay? But in order for things to become clear, sometimes we have to dispel certain illusions. And so if this dispels an illusion, it's all for the greatest, highest good, okay? Not to cause triggering that shouldn't happen. So Spirit, clear and concise message for the beautiful pile 1, the connection on their mind, the connection that pulls through the strongest here for pile number 1 in regards to what they're needing to hear so that we can put all the pieces together of this connection. Clear and concise message. Please protect me and the viewer as I channel this message for the greatest and highest good of pile 1. Pile 1, thank you so much for being here. I love you guys so, so much, and I appreciate you allowing me to tap into your energy, the energy around you at this time. I'm so blessed, and I realize you guys can go anywhere for your readings, so I do appreciate you trusting me with your energy. I'll pull one more. If you guys want to skip ahead, you can. Okay, although I do include this part just so that you can develop your intuition. If you see that one there. And the best way to do that is to sit throughout the card layout and let your intuition connect with mine at this time. Spirit, for the greatest and highest good in regards to pile 1 and their spiritual / mystical / confusing connection. Can we put all the pieces together that might be missing or misunderstood for pile number 1? Spirit, thank you so much. We're so blessed to be here. You see that one. Is there another one? Yes. I feel there's one more in this deck. It's a massive deck. Spirit, for pile 1, what is it that's that one right there on top? Thank you. I'm going to move these out of the way so we can make some room. All right. Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of pile 1. Can we put the pieces together for this connection? Oh, I'm getting weird pressure in my temples right now. What is it that pile 1 is needing to understand here about this connection, putting the pieces together? 2 more decks, okay, and then we'll reveal them, and then we will use tarot to clarify. Clear and concise message for beautiful pile 1 regarding this connection and putting all the pieces together. And finally, Spirit, please help me to channel in a way pile 1 will understand the message being delivered. Okay. Alrighty. Let's take a look. So we have rumination, 81, 9 and 6, disintegration, stress level, provocative, anxiety, fear, doubt, inaction, loss of self-trust. Type 9, the peacemaker, instinctive center between forgetting and asserting oneself with the solar plexus. These also reveal themselves. We have 76 and 4, secret relationship, stress level, hidden relationship, forbidden affair, adultery, a fling, a lover, mistress, unofficial couple. Type 4, the individualist, emotional center between lack and abundance. And then we have fear, 51 and 6. So sin, ego level, apprehension, worry, fright, stress, anxiety, anguish. Type 6, the loyalist, thinking center between mistrust and trust with the gold. All right. And then we also have shame revealing itself, 55 and 1. Embarrassment, repentance, indignity, scruples, discomfort, feeling of inferiority. Type 1, the perfectionist, instinctive center between control and letting go with fundamental injury, stress level. 55 is a master number. Okay, change is the only constant, divinely orchestrated change. Alrighty, and then we have confusion, 60 and 6, ego's pitfall, stress level, mistrust and skepticism, difficulty in disengaging. Wow, I almost said difficulty engaging. Difficulty disengaging. Okay, fatalism. I'm not sure what a fatalism is. Oh no, fatalism. My goodness, Linda, you got to read. Fatalism. All right. Anguish and anxiety. Search for evidence and need for guarantees. Type 6, the loyalist, thinking center between mistrust and trust with the number 6. All right. It's becoming very clear over here. And we have fanaticism, 55. Look at that. You guys might be seeing 5555 everywhere. And what was it? Change is the only constant. Okay, divinely orchestrated change. So it says excessive sense of duty, fixation on dogmas, impatience, intolerance, ideal of perfection, judgment of others. Type 1, the perfectionist, instinctive center between control and letting go with the number 1. Well, we have a lot happening here. 93 and 3, virtue, growth level, sincerity, authenticity, honesty, truth, veracity, integrity, directness. Type 3, the achiever, emotional center between appearance and authenticity with the solar plexus. And then we have loyalty. Didn't we have something here? Thought we had something here. It was connecting me back to this need for guarantees. Okay, but yeah, loyalty. So it says responsibility, belonging, family, sureness. Yeah, sureness. Okay, solidarity and commitment. Type 6, the loyalist, thinking center between mistrust and trust. 6. Alrighty. Look at the 6s here. Fascinating. All right. And now we have on time, 15 and 6. Again, temporality, ego level, perfect timing at maturity, well-timed, right time, spot on time, accurate timing. Type 6, the loyalist, thinking center between mistrust and trust. And the X, the number 4, ex-husband, ex-spouse, ex-lover, ex-flirt, ex-partner, ex-companion. Type 4, the individualist, emotional center between lack and abundance. And we have a little butt crack that I got to cover up, I think. I don't know if I do. Probably don't, but I don't want to see it either way, so I'll do it for my own benefit. And don't give a rat's behind about the overlords. Okay, so we have 29 and 2 with love. Okay, quest for answers, ego level love, relational patterns, concept of help, true altruism, dependencies, personal needs, personal boundaries. Type 2, the helper, emotional center between giving and receiving. Okay, yes. Let's just get some stuff sort of happening here in a way that's making sense to my brain and my channel brain. Okay. And then we have loss of identity, 81 and 9, dark night of the soul, stress level, eternal restlessness, desire to escape, apathy, disorientation, internal conflicts, intense emotions. Type 9, the peacemaker, instinctive center between forgetting and asserting oneself. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna move these ones over here, even though this train is getting low. Sorry, guys. I need to. This is the longest train I've ever made with these cards. Okay, so we have home field advantage. Oh my goodness, you guys saw how big that deck is. This card came out in one of my other readings, which I find fascinating. Okay, 156. So that's number 12. It says power of familiarity, having the upper hand, strategic advantage, feeling safe in your own environment. And then we have Mr. Fake Nice Guy, 247. Okay, I don't know why I said 247, 247. It says, believes being nice should earn him or her rewards. May apologize in order to not be perceived as bad. Huh. Opposite of this is sincerity, right? Yeah. Alrighty. And then we have modest genius. Someone who is brilliant but unassuming, not boastful. Let their work speak for itself with 202 or number 4. Okay, that's opposite of that. And then we have a dark flirt, seductive with edge, mysterious, mischievous but safe, teasing with danger, magnetic, mystery, 94. Wow. Okay, and then we have 77 with upset. And this is a master number. Okay, trust to fall, an adventure that arises from deep wisdom, trust of life, and trust of self. And then we also have self-preservation disguised as self-sabotage. Yeah, okay. And then we have 10, and this is the sign of Jupiter in Capricorn with control. And then we have number 4, the moon in Cancer with friendship. Lots of 4s and 6s in this reading. And then we have 1, protection, moon in Aries. Okay, yeah. Okay, and then we have the sun in Taurus with acquisition and the number 2. Okay. All right, I won't pull the tarot just yet. I'll put it here in case we need it. You guys can skip ahead while I tap into this energy, okay? I will, though, slide it over slightly so I can center it for this channel. Okay, just let me sit here with this energy. Okay, pile number 1. Fascinating reading here. This could be flipped. Okay, if I do say to you, it could be someone you're dealing with. So only you know whose the energy it belongs, but we're trying to get clarity around your connection. Put the pieces all together so we have better understanding of what's going on here, okay? Specifically, I asked areas that maybe don't make sense to you right now or that you could put together regarding what's going on here. Okay, so for signs, we have heavy Aries and Scorpio and Capricorn. Okay, but we also have some Gemini. Yeah, heavy Gemini as well. And then on the side, we have a little bit of every other sign, but I'll mention them just in case here. We have Cancer, Taurus, and Sagittarius, and Libra, and Virgo. I don't know if I said that. and Pisces. Okay, but those are small amounts. But the predominant energy, yeah, is like a lot of Capricorn, Gemini, and Scorpio and Aries. Okay. So what's going on here? I don't know if this is your energy or someone you're dealing with, okay? Or it could be mirrored on both sides. So there's a very intense feeling that this person, which I will read as your person. No, I don't know how I'll read it. Once I start channeling, it'll come natural, okay? I just don't want to flip it on you. This person. I'll start with this person and then we'll start channeling. This person that I'm tapped into here. There's an intense energy because of the fact that this person is having to look at why this intensity is coming online. Okay, if we suddenly feel like our energy is being hijacked, we don't know why. Okay, and if we're completely clueless, we could misinterpret those intense feelings and try to ignore them. We can make up all sorts of reasons why they're there, why they shouldn't be there, or what they mean, and do that for as long as we can. Okay, and so we can do that as long as we can. And the point being, we can't do that forever. Okay, and so there is a connection here that is triggering this person to get out of that state at some point in time so that they could grow, shift, and make changes in their world, because this person is fairly stagnant. And this stagnancy, which could provide some form of stability for this person, is now becoming a hindrance on this person's growth. This person has, right now, I do feel a decision to make about this connection specifically. And it's been on the table. Who knows how long? Or since the get-go, maybe. Okay, but there is a decision here. And this person is more concerned with the protection of current structure / identity. And so they might be believing in a story of what this connection is to them and what it means. Okay, and so that already is one thing that isn't great, because when we make up stories that make us feel comfortable and reinforce our narrative, all we're doing is just living in an illusion to reinforce a sense of safety, security, and stability. Okay, even if this person doesn't feel safe and secure so much, it's the narrative and the identity that I have created feels more familiar to me than the unknown, because the unknown here is going to challenge. Okay, and so the minute we feel challenged, this is when the ego kicks up a storm. And so why is this person behaving however they're behaving in your world? Okay, now I just attributed or ascribed your world and this person. So just keep track of who's who, because I don't know if it's you or this person, but it appears I'm calling it this person, so it's probably your person. But anyway, this person, when the ego is threatened here, they're wanting control. And I feel like this person has always wanted control. Most people want control. They don't want to have their world sort of flipped upside down here, of course. Okay, but the more intense we feel and the more we're driven to make change, and not us just out of the blue, but spirit is identifying, here's another identifier, that the soul has come here contractually to outgrow something. Okay, and so if it were up to the body, the ego, we would choose to play small or stay stuck. And the soul is coming and saying, it's time to shift, it's time to change. That's the whole thing of this whole thing. Time to shift, time to change. But when we change and get forced out of sort of moving, okay, we're never really forced, because of course we always are given the impression of a free will decision, which we do have for sure. But We have free will to resist. We have free will to deny. We have free will to sit in discomfort. We have free will to suffer. We have free will to do all of those things, which intensifies, kind of like the frog in the pot. Eventually, we just can't know more because the body can't. And then the soul knows a greater truth. And then we must sort of align with the soul. So when we're in misalignment, there is suffering. And then when we click back into alignment, then we can open up new timelines in our world and stretch and grow. Okay. And so this is definitely divinely orchestrated, and a connection here that's divinely orchestrated, and divine timing is in place. So divine timing, like I say, here's another identifier for whoever's here. The divine timing isn't that spirit knows, on this date, on this calendar, it's circled for this connection to come together. No. What it is it's sort of like spirit will say when both sides of this connection are acclimated to the right sort of energy that can come together, that's when it comes together, because spirit will make it so. Okay, so I'll say that again. Spirit doesn't say here that it's going to be by, March 5th, 2028, that this person and that person are coming together. That's the only spirit knows divine timing, and that's the date. No, the spirit says when this person has looked at their shame, addressed their limitations, and confronted limiting beliefs, have sat with their fears and dealt with a lot of what they're needing to deal with, and they're at a certain point of readiness, and the other person also is at another point of readiness, then these two are ready for whatever the next phase is. And who knows how long it takes, because we have free will to delay, prolong, and sit there and do nothing if we want. Okay, and so we'll see more with the tarot, because I don't know where this person is at. And maybe this is a big picture about this connection, because we wanted to put all the pieces together. And so we're seeing it right from conception, if you will. Okay, this is how I'm seeing it anyway. What's the conception here? You and this person got brought together. Boop. Now there's a catalyzation that happens. What's the catalyzation? Catalyzation is rumination. I know, because it's felt, but not intellectually, but I know in my soul that I'm being called to make a decision, and I'm being pulled. Now, does this person know because you said to them, make a decision, I'm giving you an ultimatum, is it this or is it that? No. In fact, the more that happens, the more conflict happens here. Okay, so this isn't about ultimatums or, and then there's another, I don't know why I feel like doing these like heart shapes and saying, here's another misnomer. Here's another misnomer, like boop, with a little light bulb or the little paper clip. Anyway, misnomer number 10, whatever. Okay, there is no amount of words, pressure, or anything outside circumstances can do. When this person is on a solo journey, although it is one of togetherness, on a solo journey of uncovery, and only they can uncover certain things on their sort of internal navigation. It cannot be an external source that's finding answers for them or pressuring them to make decisions and choose. Okay, it's like this person definitely is being called to choose different options outside of what they're currently choosing. Absolutely. But this person has to come to that conclusion on their own. Okay, and so this person has a lot of fears, doubts, anxiety, worry, stress that could override this person initially to just default to not doing anything. Okay, that's the first thing. Who knows how long this person sat in that energy? Okay, now this card is coming out quite strong here, this secret relationship. And so I'm going to put this sort of narrative together, but it doesn't have to be your narrative here, okay? This is more for like really giving some sort of clarifiers, if you will. This means something for everyone, okay? This secret relationship, but to the extent of what it means here, will be different for all of you guys. You could be sort of the third person here in this person's world, and they're being asked to leave an existing relationship. This person could just be one that hasn't committed to you, and the relationship is unofficial. This could be this person is doing the motions or the actions of something with you, but is in denial here, and they seem like they're out to lunch when it comes to the truth of who you are and what you mean to this person. It could be that this person just talks to you, in certain times, and you're only sort of categorized for like Wednesday night and Sunday night after 4 p.m. and nobody knows about you. Any one of those will do. Okay. And I do feel like this person, I don't know how this X comes onto play here. Okay. But this seems to be like a history in relationships. Okay. History in relationships. So either there's a third party situation, or there is an experience with a past relationship that's influencing strongly this karmic unfolding. Okay, whether there is a third party right now or not, I'm not saying that. So if you don't know about it, it's not a secret that's coming out here that, oh, this person has a third party or blah, blah, blah. No. Now, if you know about it, then it could be. Okay, but it's saying that there's an influence here of a relationship of the past that is significantly impacting this person's mindset and where they're at. Okay, and so throughout this process, okay, like I said, because we're seeing conception, which is like the catalyzation of, whoa, all of a sudden I'm like triggered into a feeling that I don't know what this is. And my first inkling is to want to control the narrative so that I don't get the ego shaken about. Because what's going to happen? What's going to happen once this person allows themselves to acknowledge what this is? The fears come up and the shame comes up, the confusion, okay, all mixed in one big soup here. And at the end of the day, what comes of this is a loss of identity, because when we have an ego identity, it allows us to feel safe, but we're only hiding behind a shield of a story, of a narrative of who we're not. And so these spiritual connections, soul bonds, or contracts, it is for a great purpose. This person's purpose is to shed that of an egoic understanding of who they think they are. And so I feel like this person might go through a period of being in denial. Okay, they might really not understand what this connection means. Okay, and then they might start questioning their whole sort of existence, which is a good thing. That's kind of where we want this person to go. Okay, and I feel like there's two energies here, because I feel like the other person, which I'm going to say is you, might be wanting some form of a guarantee. What might be wanting some form of loyalty, might be wanting some form of resolving of this issue right here. Now, if you've gone past that, then great. Okay, because like I said, there's a part of this person who I'm reading who's keeping things murky here, not officializing this. So this is a situationship or a closet relationship, or I'm going to be in denial that I'm even having a relationship with you as long as I can. Okay, now does this mean threaten this person? And when I say for as long as they can, so you're like, I'm upkeeping this person's secret or this world. No, you have a lot less control than you think you do here, okay? And so this is the other misnomer. I'm going to say or do certain things here to trigger the divine timing to go faster, this person to realize things sooner, to get them out of confusion, or for this narrative to fall. Or no. In fact, when we start doing any of that stuff, that's when things get drawn out. That's when there's friction. Okay, meaning like ultimatums, trying to instill our own sort of understanding on another person. Okay, not because you're wrong, not because you're not owed some form of understanding. Okay, and you could want an understanding because you're contractually obligated, and it's like being dragged or dragged along here by someone else's confusion, right? And so Nobody wants to be dragged on by someone else's confusion. So this could be very triggering for a lot of people, especially people who don't experience a soul contract bond like this, because it could cause a lot of sort of collapsing, okay, when we truly understand what the reality of this. But you'll know when you're in one of these things, okay? I'm not talking about just like a need for change, or like, this is like a soul contract that got catalyzed into an awakening that you cannot break free from prematurely, and you cannot influence. The only thing that was supposed to be influenced by both sides was the catalyzation of this agreement, so that things could be worked on both sides. And so I'm not seeing the other person's journey, but a lot of times these journeys are mirrored. Okay, and so they could be very similar on both sides here. It's like a need for change, a need to get out of comfort, a need to resolve shame and fears and limiting beliefs and shadow identities, ego identities, lies to self, structures that we hang on to in order to play smaller, play it safe. Even if we were satisfied in our world, we were limited. And so what this means is that the soul is big and the body now is like too small for this soul. And so the timeline must collapse. Okay, there's the other, and I'm doing another heart misnomer. So when the timeline collapses here, it's like, I can no longer live in this timeline. I can no longer upkeep whatever I was upkeeping in my world here, whatever said family structure or whatever world I had built, wherever I was playing small. I cannot stay there. I must move out of this. And that's the whole point. Okay, but of course the ego wants as much control as it can have here. And the difficult part is, how long does it take to navigate through all of the fear, shames, and egos? Okay, and so the loss of identity comes after examining all of this part that is not real, by the way. Okay, fear, it feels very intense, but it's just the absence of truth. Okay, and so the absence is the shadow. And so the whole point is to shed light, truth, and awareness in areas that are shadowy. And so this is why we know that fear is not real. It's not an entity, okay, but it's a privation, meaning it's an absence of. Just like, I'll give an example here. Okay, so here's another heart thingy. I don't know why I'm doing that. It's so annoying, but that's how it's coming out, okay, which is another truth here. So think of a fruit, and think of a fruit that's whole and complete. And then all of a sudden there's rot happening on this fruit. The rot doesn't come like a separate fruit or entity saying, hi, Mr. Apple, I'm going to infuse you with rot. Those would be two entities. Okay. The rot starts to happen to this apple. It's a privation because it's part of this apple, but the apple now is like rotting. And so this is the shadow part. Okay, the shadow. And so the apple, the wholeness of this apple is not like the same composition as that rot. Okay, I hope this is making sense. And so the apple that's healthy and whole, and then there's the apple that's sort of rot. And the rot part is just the shadow. It's like the absence of the nutrients of the apple. It's the absence of what it had here. Okay, and so this is why the shadowy parts like fear and shame and worry and any contracting energies have nothing to do with reality. It is the absence of truth because we've experienced separation. We experience challenging things in our world, and then the ego wants to protect itself, and so it creates all sorts of narratives and all sorts of stories to protect itself. Whoa, that's a threat. And so the ego is either going to puff itself up. Okay, it's the best. It could conquer anything. It was victorious. It's the victor. And look at me go. And it's all about me and I could do this and I did that. And what about me? And then the ego will do the other flip side, which is point the finger at you. Okay, like our own ego will point the finger at us when there's something that it doesn't like. It never takes accountability, and it says you're the victim and you should feel shame and you should feel fear and you feel the downside, but I take the victory. Okay, and so there is no I behind this ego, and this ego is just a mind story. It's not an entity. This ego, okay, is just a thought process that comes online, and it is how we identify with certain things. And so if we have strong identification, it becomes an ego. Okay, so if you're very opinionated, that is like an ego. Okay, yes, you can have opinions. Yes, you can have your own sort of thoughts with things. But if you become very attached to those opinions, if you create identities, okay, then those are egos that we create. And those are the things that we really identify with and say, that's who I am. And once those structures break, it's like, who am I without this? What are my beliefs? And we get all upside down, and it creates this dark night of the soul. Okay, so that part takes some time. And I don't know how long this for. I'm hoping we get some tarot here so that we can see like real time what's going on in this connection. But again, we're looking at all of the pieces together here. So there's the catalyzation, there's the strong pull, there is the confusion, there is the having to navigate the shadow, there's a need for control, and then there's also the other side of the equation, which is your energy or the other person wanting maybe some form of commitment, some form of officialness, some form of answer, some form of something. Also feeling a strong pull. Now, why do these two people feel the strong pull? Because it's a soul contract that feels like losing a limb. We are obligated to fulfill that part of the contract. Okay? We can't just decide, well, my body does not want to do this. The ego says no. Okay, but the soul has agreed to this long ago. And so this isn't God forcing you, okay, although it does feel like it because we are divinely guided. This is, okay, this is the other heart misnomer. This is spirit honoring your soul contract. Your soul, okay, has decided, also with this person, to unravel this thing in this lifetime, however it unravels. Spirit is ensuring that you get supported and this person throughout this process. It is being divinely rolled out and divinely guided for the soul's purpose. It doesn't care about the body so much because the soul knows that the body is reincarnated and that the body is just form. Okay, here's another heart misnomer. The form is going to come and go, meaning I get reincarnated, I live my life, I die. I reincarnated, I live my life, I die. Okay, like we all die eventually. We don't live on forever. Okay, so this finite body is temporary, but the soul, the essence is forever. And so this foreverness trumps whatever we're experiencing here in this little body. And then, of course, we say, but I'm the one in this little body. But that's if we believe we're the body. So that's another loss of identity. We're not the body. We're not the mind. We're not the story. We are the essence. And so what happens is when we connect to that soul, we move beyond the identity and it snaps us open. It cracks us open because now we don't resonate with being that of the body and attached to that. Okay. And so this pushes the soul growth. And so there's a need to graduate with the soul, with this person. Okay. And so, like I always say, love is truth and the truth is God. And they're all synonymous here. Okay. And so through love, this is why I know this connection is a loving one. Okay. There is love here, although it might feel right now like, is this truly, okay, there's another misnomer. Is this truly love? Why would we question this? We would question this because, okay, how am I going to explain this? But this is totally what you need to hear right now, okay? This is like the highlight of what you really need to hear right now. When someone is in a soul bond and they are thrusted into a situation, circumstance that seems beyond their free will. It seems this way, okay? And it is because it's beyond the body's free will, but it's not beyond the soul. And so it is beyond free will in this case, okay? The other soul feels in their soul level and understands that it's going against that person's free will. And so both people are sort of at the obligation of the souls, and they're both under the obligation of this contract. And so when they come together, the bodies and the mind understand the deviation or the disconnect, because it's like one is acting all refusing, like this is a secret relationship. Shh, don't tell anyone. You're a third party. I can't officialize this. No, I'm not going to give you confirmation or commitment or assuredness here or complete confusion. then it's like, well, what kind of love is this? This isn't a love that my brain understands. Okay, especially if the other person, because these connections are always about polarity. Okay, and so the other person is on the opposite polarity here. So that would be what, like true altruism and completely devoting themselves and completely in an opposite energy. Okay, and so doesn't mean that the other person doesn't have to have a loss of identity either, or not to do any of this sort of shame and shadow work and all the stuff, and isn't feeling these intense energies or having to choose. But what it does mean is that the questioning here becomes on the truth and the honesty and the integrity of this body to body connection in the 3D and its validity, okay, because it's felt in the soul. And the honest truth here is that there is love. The souls know, the souls recognize. And these souls recognize, okay, so there is a true love. And when I say love, I'm not talking about transactional love, fear-based love, 3D-based love, where we find people and say, what's in it for me? Okay, we got to get above the what's in it for me's, because love is unconditional. And so when we experience this, we have to transcend past the fear-based love and sit in just acceptance love. Okay, which is the true altruism here. Because when we are selfless, when we are doing something without expectation, that is the epitome of love. Okay, so it must come from a sincere place here. And so obviously, we're not wanting to martyr ourselves. We're not wanting to do anything, okay, that would put us in any sort of compromising situations. But when we're in these soul contracts, there isn't anything that we're able to influence, okay? And it's like this by design. And the more we're incapable of influencing, the more frustrated we get and the more hostage we feel and the more, conflicted we feel, which could trigger a dark night of the soul, you know? And that's the whole point, is like the dark night of the soul comes because we're forced to deal with the level up of our next move. Otherwise, the body would stay there in stagnancy forever, protecting itself, not making decisions. Okay? And so I feel like one person is downplaying this connection, but they know that their soul depends on this happening. Okay, and so this is the other misnomer. It's like, then why is this person even showing up at all or even engaged? Because just like you, this person is also bound and knows that they're bound. And so they come not knowing why they are still 1 foot in, but they're 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you know, but it's not because they're proactively choosing so much as it is the energy must shift and the consciousness must be there. And once the work is done there and the loss of identity is there, and then conscious choice can be made. And when the soul contract is done, both people are in consciousness, a higher state of consciousness, to really reflect on their situation without fear, without judgment, so that they can make decisions different. Okay. And so I feel like you're dealing with someone, if I have the energy right, who seems to be like all about them, or maybe making decisions that are in their best interest. And you're like, well, where do I fit in this? And shouldn't I be concerned with myself? And how much of myself am I supposed to be like involved here? And it's like, it's not a question of that, because there is no choice. And this is what's infuriating and frustrating if you resonate with this reading. Okay. And this doesn't mean you just got to bend there like a doormat. Okay. That's where we get really frustrated. And that's the balance and the work we got to do, because love also, we have to develop our own personal boundaries and what that looks like. And so we're not judging another and expecting them to be this or to do that. But it's like, how do we transcend past that experience, you know, where we feel like the other person is sort of being or doing or behaving in certain ways. Okay. And so I feel like there is a need for you to know that you are safe, and a need for you to know that even if you're feeling, and I know this is going to sound like it's coming off in a way here that I don't want people to misconstrue this at all. Because if you're not resonating with what I'm saying to you, then this isn't your reading, okay, at all. But if you do, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because this hits hard and there's no escape with this thing, okay? No escape. all of this devil energy, chain, bound, cord, okay? And what I'm going to say here is like, even though this might feel like it's sucking the life out of you, okay? It might even feel like it's harmful or damaging in some way. It's not. All that it's really damaging is the privation, like I said, the rot here. And so that we could shed some light. It's creating a loss of identity. It's creating the truth to come up. It's creating the balance of self to see beyond the illusion, to see beyond fears, judgments, a need for sure's. Okay? Because all of that stuff is all tethered around an ego-based identity. And all that stuff must fall away in order for us to raise our consciousness, in order for us to understand what actual love means. Okay? And so I feel like you might want to know as well, there's another heart message, the truth of this person and whether they are intentionally knowing of the harm and the decisions in this. No, they are pretty much at the mercy, just as you are at the mercy of whatever is sort of unfolding here. Okay, and so part of their block and their inability to move is part of the contract. And so this person is not going to impede on your free will in a way here that goes beyond what the contractual agreement is. Okay, so I want you to play that back. And this is the issue, is like it manifests in the connection as you seeing the other person as doing this and doing that against you. Okay, whatever they're doing, because I feel there's a resistance or a lack of clarity and all of the stuff that you could say this person is doing, you know? But it's like, no, the contract is set up for this person to not pass go, not impede until your part of the contract is also, because like I said, this is that divine, what did I call it? Alchemization? Okay, or I don't think that's the right word. Climatization. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, because we must climatize. I don't know what I'm saying. You must be in the right energy. Okay, temperance energy. The temperance energy means this person and you are at the mercy of the contractual agreement, and this is why it feels odd when you guys come together and there's anything that goes outside of the contract. So the body might know commitment. The body might know guarantees. The body might want this, that, and the other uncertainties and clarity. This person can't provide it because the contract doesn't allow it. Doesn't allow it because then they wouldn't be able to overcome whatever they were here to overcome within their own personal journey. So there's your personal journey, their personal journey, overcome whatever you must, overcome whatever they must. It is a joint thing because together, the catalyzation, the ability to sort of do the dance whenever we need to here in the 3D, pull away whenever we need to, integrate the lesson, come to a level of understanding within self to a certain point where divine timing brings you guys together or graduates you guys apart, whatever the contract is, because for everyone it's different, to the point where things that were incapable of moving forward now can in the 3D. Words, whatever, guarantees, certain things that weren't clear or said, they're now clear and said. Okay, but it feels like a big mystery here because it's like, what is the truth? You know, what is the truth? Are they honest? Are they doing this? Do they know what they're doing? And it's like, they know about as much as you do, but you have a certain limitation as well, what you can do with this person. And you might feel like your hands are tied. This person also feels her hands are tied. Okay, it's tied to the contract. It's not tied by decision with the 3D. And so this is a big revelation here, okay, for you to understand this connection, although some of you guys might have already understood it, but we're putting it together. And so the person that I was calling your person, okay, I feel is engaged in a certain way here that might be showing up to you as, like I said, a choice to self-sabotage and making these decisions that going against what you're sort of seeing as cohesion for you or this connection. So it's against the connection or it's not for the greatest good. And so it's easy to internalize it and say this person's against connection, or this person is getting further away, or this person's still blocked, and all of this type of stuff. And it's like, no, the contract is still ongoing. And as long as the contract's still there, okay, this person has to preserve themselves by saying and doing exactly what they're supposed to say and do, so their contract is upheld. So if this means during this contract, you cannot officialize this connection, they don't know why they can't commit to you. They don't know why they can't, and you could say, well, what do you mean they don't know? But because if that's part of the contract, whatever this thing is, or not whatever, this is a contract, but whatever their thing to you is, it's the self-preservation that's happening to upkeep this. And they must do it. It's like losing a limb. Like I said, they can't go against the contract, no matter what they feel for you or this connection. It's the soul calling the shots. And so the body sort of looking at the soul like it's not understanding. It feels disjointed. And of course, the soul trumps the body. And it creates this dichotomy, okay, within this person and also within you. But instead of seeing it within ourselves, we direct it at the other person. And so the only dichotomy we see is the polarity of me versus them. And this challenge, I want this, they want that. We can't agree. I'm leaning in, they're leaning out. I'm giving, they're not taking, or they're running, or they're doing this. And it's like, no, it's actually the self-preservation of however they're engaged so that they can reflect back to themselves a story of what is actually happening so they can heal what their soul came here to heal. And for this person, a lot is running on shame, fears, judgments, okay, that sort of thing. And so I feel like this person also is not being assertive enough to go after this connection in a way here that you're wanting. And it's not because they don't want, and it's totally they don't even understand it until the soul contract is done and revealed to them, and they got to work through all this stuff, no matter how much they're wanting it. It's like if they were just to agree to this connection or like officialize or move forward, it's like none of this shame, none of these shadows, none of the contractual stuff that they were supposed to look at would be resolved. It would be premature. Okay, it would be premature. And their soul knows this. It's like the whole point was the catalyzation so that they could heal these karmic things or these shadow things that are going on within them. And the only way to do that was to bring you on the scene. And so we have this disconnect between these two, this upset, okay? And Spirit is assuring that this is all part of the healing process, and both sides sort of doing their own healing so that they can come together and find harmony, okay, even if that means not having a partnership that is united in a way that's going to be connected forevermore, okay, because this doesn't guarantee that this is a relationship that ends up together. This is just saying to overcome challenges and shadows within self that surface as a result of the catalyzation. And then we have free will come online. So once the contract breaks, then there's free will. Then this person can decide. And so would you not rather someone choose from free will? Just like this other person isn't choosing from free will to give, or even like maybe setting boundaries. They might not understand, why is it that I'm incapable of setting a boundary, or I'm dependent on at the mercy of this person's decisions. It's not a weakness. No, it's part of the contract, and it manifests like this. Okay. And so I think you were wanting to really know, like, is this person really like trustworthy, and more about the person, body, and Spirit saying, rise above it. This is all about contract. Okay, soul contract, and this is all about a higher state of consciousness where we could see beyond the body and the decisions and the 3D stuff of like commitments and words and officialness and doings, more than it is like reflecting and healing internal stuff that couldn't get healed if these two weren't brought together. And once that is done, then the contract has been what's it called? The obligation of the contract has been fulfilled. And then there's free will online for these two to choose. Okay, but is it a sincere thing? Absolutely. It's the soul is sincere in both of these people. Okay, no one's pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. And we could think that because it's like I'm the closet relationship or I'm just the whatever, and I can't find a way out of this thing. Okay, and that's fair enough. But we need to rise above the body. We're not the body. And we need to understand when we have contractual obligations in play. And we could get very triggered by this because, of course, we want to believe in the free will, and we can totally do so. But there's such a thing as a soul contract and a soul bond that trumps what the body thinks it needs, because the body never knows what it wants. Okay, I mean, the body knows what it wants, but it never knows what it needs. So, Spirit, clear and concise message for pile one so we could close out this reading. Can we get just an insight in, like, I don't know, maybe a timeline here or what it is that pile number one might need to hear about the progression or ease their mind around putting this puzzle piece together. But I think this should provide you with some clarity. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to make you feel better so much as knowing the truth should make you feel better, even if the truth is something we don't want to hear. Pile number one in this connection. Yeah, 5 wands, inner conflict here, and it's both you guys having that friction. And so you might really be creating friction without I think you definitely know, at some point in time, you're creating friction here. And that was your point or your purpose in a soul contract. Your soul contract is to create friction for this person, and this person's soul contract is to create friction for you. Why? Because with friction, there's pushback and there's looking at certain things we wouldn't look at if we were just smooth sailing in our for stability world, not making any change. Okay, and so the friction is there for a reason, and this is why you feel, well, they're not agreeing, or they're not doing, or they're going against what my better judgment is, because your soul might be holding on to a great truth, and the great truth could be honorable and be totally in line with love and totally in line with commitment, like on a soul level, integral sort of knowings. And if this person has behaved in a certain way, it contradicts that. And it's like, how could this person be, just or true or all of this stuff? And it doesn't mean that they're not just or true. This just means they're still sorting through what is going to be friction because they haven't worked through certain things that they're having to look through or work through on their side. Okay. This isn't to make your life a living hell, although it has made your life a living hell, But the more you transcend past the living hell, the more you're at peace. The more you can stay in this contract without it rocking your world. Okay. But we need to do a lot of work to get there. And I do feel for a lot of you guys, it is mirrored here. Okay. Egos, shames, and fears that are really, and limiting beliefs about ourselves. That needs to be worked through. That's the contract. Okay, so that we can transcend. So what do you have? 4 wands. So yeah, this does feel mirrored. This does feel like a twin flame. This is my twin flame card. Okay, so you don't need to believe in the labels or even all of these words that I'm saying. These are just words, signposts towards this connection. This connection, there's an agreement, higher level at play. And the body and the mind cannot override it. Okay? And so this is all about union of self and coming together. Masculine, feminine union, okay, or masculine, feminine of the self coming into balance. And in order for us to come together, we're needing to be in balance with ourself. Okay, 9 Pentacles, exactly. So in the 9 Pentacle is the self-sufficient card or confidence. We're capable of standing on our own, managing on our own. We're not depending on anyone or anything in this material world to prop us up. Okay. And so until we can reach our own independence, and until we can reach a level of balance and stability, then we're not acclimatized to the right energy that can bring these two together. Okay. Queen of Swords, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, and the 9 of Cups. So look at these 9s. All about the self-emotional fulfillment, and putting oneself in a position here in the 3D world to be capable enough to stand on one's own without depending on the material world, okay, which is always around like identities and egoic constructs, okay, and knowing and knowing what makes one's heart happy. So this is what I'm really getting here with this Four Wands. It's like the emotional world and the material world, the understanding that we have of the material world and what makes us happy. It is a form of balance here. We're not leaning in so much of the mind, leaning in so much just in fantasy land and not grounding it. Okay, because I do feel like for someone here, and I'm not sure who it is, and this came up as a channel that I didn't say, I feel like there's a need to go after something, like in life. I don't know who's lacking this. I did feel a lot of force, obviously, to make change. There seems to be a lack of a go afterness, you know? And this is because we could be leaning into our fantasy or not knowing how to be pointed or not knowing how to ground something or not knowing how to move with that feeling so that we can drive towards the new. Okay, and this is what we're learning. We're taking the heart, the emotion, we're making sense of it, we're transforming it, and we're making it a reality in the 3D for us. And so once we're balanced, stable, and grounded, then we can be ready for what's next here, okay? Six of Cups, yes, soul bond for sure, okay, with this and this. This is my soulmates, this is my twin flames. Now, I don't know whatever you resonate with, okay, but this is a soul contract. I remember you from a past life, okay, and the agreement was to catalyze each other here for a series of soul lessons. Now, I did ask about where this connection could be at. Okay, we still have 2 cards here, but if you haven't heard from this person, if there's this period of separation, there is a period here of reconciliation. This person hasn't gone anywhere, okay? And so, is this the final reconciliation? I don't think so. I don't think so, but only you know where you're at with this person. Because, I mean, we have to be in the stages of 9s in order to come into union, okay? And this does seem very beautiful here. And so I do feel, and this falling on top of the X, okay? So like I said, for some of you guys, there's a past relationship that has created all sorts of complexes. So either this is like a parental relationship or a past marriage or inner child stuff that's developed as a result of my childhood that I need to work through and fully understand here before I can come into union, because I have internal conflict. So I must understand this and work through this clearly. Okay, have the wisdom of this understanding so that I'm able to be free and independent here to show up. Okay, yeah, look at this beautiful Queen of Cups. So we have Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. For some of you guys, this could be a same sex. And I am talking about gender now, okay? When you guys get triggered, sometimes there's messages in the comments getting all triggered. I could say gender and I could say energy. I could say whatever I want to say, okay? And so there is, and it doesn't have to be gender, but for some of you guys, it is same-sex gender, okay? But what this really is about, I feel, is really mirrored. Sorry about that. I should put my phone on quiet. In fact, I'm going to do that so it doesn't distract. Just give me a second. Yeah. So, sorry, I got completely thrown off. Okay, so we talked about the same sex, but that's not for the bulk of you guys. It's like maybe like, I don't know. It's confirmation for one person, maybe 1%, okay? The bigger message, and this is for all of you guys, there's a mirroring happening here. Okay, 2 butterflies, 2 people transforming, 2 sides acclimatizing, if that's even a word. I'm probably saying it wrong. Okay, we must transform by opening the heart space, and not through a willy-nilly transaction of the heart, but a true wisdom of experience, an inner knowing, okay? And when we have this, it's like we're not blind so much with this true altruism, but we could bring it back into the 3D where we have healthy understanding of what a boundary looks like that's not tied to an ego, need to protect, a need to prove anything or understand anything for the ego's terms. Okay, this is true love. I see true love. I mean, it's love, the real love. Okay, not transactional, not fear-based. So this lesson is all about opening the heart space completely. Love is completely unconditional. Okay, and once we open the heart space, we have an expanded heart. Then we integrate it into knowledge and wisdom. And this is what transforms us. This is what this connection is about, so that we can create something here in the 3D world. Okay. And so if our heart chakra was closed, then we're uncomfortably being cracked open here, and we could fight and resist and be uncomfortable and want the body and the free will to move beyond this in a way that hides, runs, resists, fights. It's like, no, you can't do that. Nope, it's not going to happen. Okay. So 7 Pentacles. So yeah, it's essentially at the end of the day where your connections are at. It feels like it hasn't come together. It feels like no matter how much I invest here, nothing's happening or blah, blah, blah. It's like, just understand the biggest mystery of all. There's a soul contract that is needing to be fulfilled above and beyond whatever your ego wants. Your ego wants to come together. Your ego wants commitment. Your ego wants marriage. No, this isn't about what your ego wants at all. This is a soul contract about opening the heart space, integrating the wisdom, being solid on one's own here in the 3D, following one's heart, and being able to be balanced in the 3D so that one can be grounded and stable so that they're ready for whatever's next, whether it's in this connection or not. And that's still up in the air. It wasn't a soul bond so that we will come together in this life so that we can be together forever. It's like, no, the soul bond was, I will come and catalyze you because certain soul growth you need to do and certain soul growth I need to do. Okay. But I don't doubt that it's very tender. I don't doubt that it's very loving. I don't doubt that it's felt on both sides, but it's shown differently in the 3D, and it has to be shown differently. And that's what triggers us. It's like, this person is showing me something I don't want to see, that my body sees as rejection or as friction or as conflict or as, it's like, yes, they are being obligated to do that. That's the only way your soul would have been catalyzed into this. That's why they're doing it. Not that they enjoy it. That's their contract, and they don't know what. They really don't. It's like, that's it's woven into their DNA. And just like you're reflecting something back to this person, they don't understand. They don't understand it, And so this is what I got for you, pile number 1. I hope this made sense. I love you guys very much. And let me know in the comments if this resonated for you, okay? And I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye-bye. Pile number 2, you guys pick the glass gem paperweight, and we're looking at, I do suggest you go listen to the disclaimer, okay? Because I don't want to be delivering false news, false information if you're not really supposed to be here, okay? But obviously I believe everything for a reason. However, I do believe that people are completely confused and lost in this world. So please lean into your intuition here, okay? Because this could be a highly triggering reading, and I'm not trying to trigger anyone. I'm asking the divine to make sense of your connection here for you. We're putting all the pieces together. And so if there's big question marks around certain things that we don't understand fully, it could be triggering when we hear it for the first time. Okay, but then it should provide you with a sense of liberation. The truth always makes us feel freer. It doesn't make us feel constrained. Okay, it should make you feel free. All right, so we're asking Spirit for a clear and concise message regarding pile number 2 and the person connection they came here about. And can we see the truth and put all the pieces together regarding this connection for pile number 2? What are they needing to know about the connection to make sense of this connection for pile number 2? Spirit, please protect me and the viewer as I channel this message for the greatest and highest good of pile number 2. Pile 2, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys being here and allowing me to read for you. So you guys can skip ahead if you're not wanting to sit throughout this process, although I do suggest, if you're developing your intuition, to sit through this card layout and to allow your intuition to tap into mine. I do feel there's one more, or however many more are going to come out here. All right. Spirits, please help me to channel in a way that pile 2 will understand regarding this connection and putting all the pieces together regarding what pile 2 needs to understand about this person, this connection, this situation. What do they need to know? Let me put all the puzzle pieces together. What are they still not fully understanding about this connection for pile number 2, Spirit? Thank you so much. Quite a bit of those. All right. So we'll use the tarot at the end. We have 3 more decks. Spirit, please protect me and the viewer and this connection as I channel this message for the greatest and highest good of pile number 2. Thank you so much. What is pile 2 needing to know in regards to any of the missing pieces of information that are going to clarify this connection once and for all for pile number 2? What do they need to know about this connection? And finally, this deck right here. Clear and concise message for pile number 2, Spirit. What does pile 2 need to know about this connection? Okay. Alrighty, let's take a look. We have 87 and 9 and 6. It says integration, growth level, self-love, appeasement, plenitude, trust, maturity, quietude, relaxation. Type 6, the loyalist, thinking center between mistrust and trust. And then we have abandonment, 15 and 6, basic fear, ego level, feeling unsupported, cowardice, betrayal, defection, separation, and feeling excluded. Type 6, the loyalist, thinking center between mistrust and trust. A lot of gold here, which I attribute to the higher self. Okay, so we have introjection, 31 and 4, artistic sublimation, identification, inclusion, absorption, incorporation, and internalization. Type 4, the individualist, emotional center between lack and abundance, defense mechanism. Okay, have another one reveal itself with empathy, 97 and 7, sharing of feelings, comprehension, receptiveness, careful listening, social intelligence, respect for emotions. Type 7, the enthusiast, thinking center between pleasure and pain with rational quality, growth level. And this is the green, which is the heart chakra. And then we have loneliness, 77 and 5. So 77 is a master number. Okay, trust the fall, an adventure that arises from deep wisdom, and trust of life and trust of self. It says withdrawal, dropout, isolation, exile, solitude, abandonment, which is coming through twice. Okay, and then 5. So type 5, the observer, thinking center between interior and exterior with the authentic self-expression, throat chakra with the blue. We have 36 and 9, listening, relationship skill. Then we have another one here. Careful listening. Listening, yeah. Yes. Kind-heartedness, attentiveness, empathy, kindness, gentleness, harmony, preserver. Type 9, the peacemaker, instinctive center between forgetting and asserting oneself with the solar plexus. And then we have 91 and 1, acceptance of other. Yes, rational quality, growth level, open-mindedness, non-judgment, flexibility, sweetness, good for the other, mistakes is acceptance. Type 1, the perfectionist, instinctive center between control and letting go. And then we have 85 and 4, mystical experience, growth level with channeling. Spirit brings perception, clairvoyance, past lives, dilated time, clairaudience, divine guidance. Type 4, the individualist, emotional center between lack and abundance. Number 4. And then we have in depth, 16 and 7, inner call, ego level, responsibility versus pleasures, painful emotions, focusing, gratitude, fully present, relationship stability. Type 7, then enthusiast, thinking center between pleasure and pain. All right. And then we have Self-listening. Wow. Lots about this listening. Yeah, lots. Okay, 11 and 2. Inner call ego level. Self-listening. Giving and receiving. That ties back to this abandonment here, okay? Self-awareness, autonomy, self-compassion, valorization of self, relationship healing, relationship stability. Very interesting. Okay, type 2, the helper, emotional center between giving and receiving. Okay, one more of these. And then we have Revelations 86 and 5. Mystical experience growth level. It says expansion of consciousness, duality, transcendence, prophecy, mental clarity, universal knowledge, increased understanding. Type 5, the observer thinking center between interior and exterior. Okay. Fascinating. Oops. I got to cover this up. Hopefully I got that. Alrighty. So what else do we have here? We have Nip Tuck, self-maintenance, plastic surgery, beautifying yourself, new life. Who this? 224 or the number 8. And then we have favoritism. Certain employees get special treatment or form exclusive inner circles, leaving others feeling isolated or undervalued. 229 or the number 13. Okay, and then we have your seasons, sorry, not your, 4 seasons, 54, which is the number 9, going through immense cycles or growth or resisting the natural flow of life, renewal and reflection. And we have a bussin', really, really good. It hits the spot, next level good, soul satisfaction, unexpected joy. Wow, 175. And we have Jane Doe, 193. Lost identity, erased presence, silent voice. Repressing all the missing. Oh, representing all the missing, unheard or erased persons. Oh, wow, I've never seen that. That's intense. Then we have the bubble, 27. Okay, or the number 9. We have eccentricity with Saturn and Aquarius, number 11. And we have Jupiter in Scorpio with manipulation, number 8. And we have number 5 with generosity, Saturn in Leo. Yeah. Okay. Let me sit here with this energy. I am going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to shuffle. I'm going to slide them down. Okay. And you guys can definitely skip ahead here. Okay, pile number 2. I feel this is your energy. Okay, but like I say, it could be someone you're dealing with here. I only feel one energy here. Okay, so take it however it resonates here. So for signs, there's quite a bit, but I'm going to read the ones that are sort of standing out here. Okay, we have Gemini, Capricorn, Virgo, Cancer, Aries, and Scorpio. And we have Taurus, Sagittarius, Pisces, predominantly here, okay? So, and Cancer, I don't know if I said that. So, yeah, what's happening here? I feel this is all about your energy. So you could be questioning, why did X happen? Or why is this happening? Or I don't know, or maybe you're asking about a certain individual and this is the energy. Okay, but I'm going to read this as you because that's how it's coming through. But place it however you want to place it, but don't contort what I'm saying. If you got to contort it, then it's not your pile. And if it makes you all crazy, then it's probably not your pile, okay? Although if it is something that's revealing truths and creating triggers, then it could certainly still be your message, okay? Don't sit in denial. So what's happening here? You're experiencing something here in order to go deep within yourself. I feel like if you did not experience whatever you're experiencing in a connection with other, this part of yourself would be dormant. And so there is divine guidance in play for sure. It's very spiritual. And this is why it feels very mystical or pulled or out of your control. Okay, so when we're divinely guided, there is higher power in play. And sometimes the ego, most of the times the ego will resist and fight this thing. Okay, because the ego always wants to be the one that has the free will and the control and the power. And that's fine to have free will when we're able to. Okay, and I say able to only because when the higher power knows of a soul agreement to learn certain things, that trumps the body. Okay, so you're being guided, if this is your energy, of course. Okay, this does feel very spiritual. And so there could be the spiritual. It is spiritual for sure, okay, but I say there could be a spiritual aspect, meaning there's the spiritual stuff that I will talk about that comes online with this, okay, and they are gifts, and they come online because once we open our consciousness to a higher level, these gifts flow in because the third eye opens up. And so this means clairvoyance. This means our clairaudience. This means we have different perspective here. This means we start seeing sign, symbol, synchronicities, and dreams intensify. Why? Because it's guiding us to do certain things. It's wanting to wake us up. You have been woken up here. Okay, you might channel through way of whatever, reading tarot or get downloads. Okay, however you channel. This is the psychic gifts or whatever that comes online as a result. But what are we doing exactly here? There's a part of yourself here, okay, that when you boil it all down is in relationship with self in an unhealthy way. When we're in relationship with ourselves in an unhealthy way, we might not realize how it's unhealthy, but it's limiting. And so before we can truly love another, before we can truly be open with other, before we can experience other or the universe as it's intended to be experienced, we must see beyond our own lies. We must see ourselves, because as above, so below, as within, so without. So whatever's going on within you is happening all around you. And if we don't know what's happening within us, and we don't really fully understand how it works, and we're making assumptions, or we're bypassing certain things, or we're carrying certain beliefs, and then we start engaging in the world and projecting onto people, situations. I feel like you're engaged with people and places in a surface type way here, okay? It seems very superficial. Now, I'm not calling you superficial, for one. If this isn't your energy, it could be the person you're dealing with, so that takes care of that. But if this is your energy, I'm not saying you're superficial so much as it is a bandwidth of experience that is deeper than that in which you're experiencing. And the only way to do this is to crack you open. And so Spirit knows if you've reached a level of stubbornness in your understanding or experience of understanding, it sits at a certain level. It cannot transcend past this level unless you are being guided spiritually by spirits to crack this open. This was created, I do feel, by an abandonment, okay, however it happened, in your energy body. I don't know if it was in this lifetime, a past lifetime, whatever it was, but in this lifetime, you've agreed to heal this thing. This abandonment is feeling isolated onto itself, okay? This creates all sort of complex. It's a story we tell ourselves and we hang on to in the DNA level, okay? Because I had an experience and I believe it, so much so it's integrated into my belief system that I am separate. So there's a heavy abandonment here. I am separate, okay? And this could manifest in different sort of narratives. No one understands me, or it's me against the world, or I will never be truly loved or seen, or I can't experience true depth of love and feeling or be understood by other, or I engage in certain ways because I don't want to be seen for who I truly am. I could betray myself by the decisions I make, the things I do and say, in order to be approved and accepted. And so I might not be speaking my great truth. I might be saying certain things just to appear accepted or to be welcomed. Okay, these aren't truths, but people do this. Why do we do this? Because we have a wound that tells us if we don't do this or say that or do certain things, then we project that person, that situation won't value me, won't see me, I won't be appreciated or seen, and therefore I rank myself lower. But that's not what's happening. That's just a story and a belief. The great truth here is that beliefs don't have any validity to your essence. And so I feel like this person I'm channeling, which, like I said, I am reading It's Like You, is very sensitive here, internalizes everything. Everything's about this person. And so it's a big ego here. Okay, a big ego, even though this person might not like to hear that they have a big ego, it is a big ego because it's all about them, preserving that. What did that make me look like? Am I? Like, they're very much them on the forefront. It's a survival mechanism. They got to say and do everything to survive, but how does this appear to others? It appears to others as someone who is self-focused, self-contained. They're missing the forest for the trees. Like, they're too blinded by themselves, needing to appear in a certain way or do certain things or say and navigate. And so they think they're manipulating energy in a way that's like, I'm doing this, I'm looking this way, I'm now being valued now. And if I say that, then they'll see me in this way. It's like, no, those are all just a whole bunch of stories on top of stories on top of stories on top of stories that are adding to a narrative that isn't even true. And so it's like a big fat lie to self, because there's an internal world and a dialogue that this person believes so strong. Come hell or high water, I gotta keep that narrative alive, because again, it's a survival wound, a belief so strong, and it makes this person act in certain ways. So they could cut off certain people. They could say certain things that are really not even true. And they could say, but it is my truth, or it is. It's like, no, it's the truth of the wound, or the truth of the needing to be accepted. And so they might feel it in the moment that it's true, because there's a feeling of truth, like there's feeling here. But the actual substance of that action, that word, or that thing is actually misaligned. Okay, so I feel like this person truly lacks empathy and completely is self-absorbed. Okay, and I don't feel like this is like, how do I put this into words? Because this person wouldn't realize it because they can't see their face despite their nose. I don't even know what that saying is. It's like the type of person that is thinking about what they could say next, how they can appear to, I don't know, like when we're really in our own world, thinking about how to appear and what to say, rather than really, really connecting to other, we're totally disconnected here. We're not present. We're not listening. We're too protective. We're too guarded. We're too much thinking about how I could be at a loss. Too much thinking about how my self is going to be sort of out there. And so I need to control how the self comes online, but we don't. And so what does this mean? This means if I can't love me and accept me and see my own narratives and my own beliefs that are keeping me stuck in my own world, I could never relate with other. And so this could be somebody who's having a difficult time with relationships. This could even be, why am I never finding relationships? Or why do I never fit in? Or why is it that I never belong? See how this I. So lots of questions about this whole thing, but it's like, I am using the eyes of the trauma to try to heal the trauma. Okay, and I'm using trauma in big words because it's a belief integrated that's actually not for the benefit, but that keeps one self-absorbed. And so why is this experience happening for this person? This person is learning about self-love and what this looks like so that they can then be open and understanding and relating to others so others can relate to them. But it starts with the self. Okay, and the self-love, like I always say, doesn't say, no, I'm going to take bubble baths and go to more concerts and buy myself more tarot decks, and I'm going to put myself first in line because I'm always last and take the first slice of the pie of the cake because I always wait for others. No, that has nothing to do with self-love at all. This is all about going in very deep to question one's own intentions and how one engages from an observer's point of view without judgment, because this person is full of judgment of self. And when we carry judgment of self, we're guaranteed judging other. And I don't think this person knows that they judge themselves, because they're so far removed, they're out there judging everyone and situations. So everyone else would seem like a challenge. Everyone else would seem like they need to fix. Everyone else seems like they should be this, or they should do that, or they should know. When the truth of the matter is this person's world is having to be looked at with the eyes of observer to see what the truth is. And when we are judging other, 100% of the time we're judging ourselves, and we don't even realize it's happening in our inner world. Okay, and that's a hard one to wrap our mind around, because we could think, especially if you're not this person and you're kind of engaged with someone like this, you might think, oh no, like, trust me, like, they're so self-absorbed here, they're so, like, it's easy to see because it's their shadow and we're on the outside. But if this is you and this is your shadow, you will not see it as a lack of self-love. In fact, this might even manifest as, like I said, I'm choosing me, I'm doing this. It's like, no, that's not out of self-love. That's not. That's self-preservation. That's manipulating energy. That's trying to exalt oneself. And so when we try to exalt oneself, it means there must be a tiered system. I'm here, you're there, automatically. And that's an untruth, because there is no tiered system. There is no me and then you. There is no separation. And when we see beyond the separation and the exaltation and the judgment, and we really, really just see with ourselves, we feel a warm blanket of connectivity, and that heals the loneliness and the abandonment. And we feel totally whole and complete within ourselves, that we can feel the love of self. And then we can go in very deep. And when we can go in very deep and feel our own emotions without judgment, then we're available and open to go in deep with other. Unless we can do that, we cannot go deep with other at all. So this experience was so that we could expand our consciousness. We could transcend the duality, which is this you and me, I'm over here, you're over there. Or even if they're not exalting themselves, they're exalting other. And so they're putting other on a pedestal. And then they're putting themselves below. So it's either I'm better than this person, or this person's better than me. And there'll always be someone better, and there'll always be somebody below. And that's the whole thing, is that there isn't any aboves and belows. And so we must transcend past this mind belief. And as long as we act as if we really believe in that belief, this belief is having to be seen through and undone, because this creates the loneliness. As long as I create separation in belief, then I will be lonely. Why? Because when I create separation, it's me. I'm alone. I'm lonely. No one can come in. I created that belief. I believe in a tiered system. I'm separate. There's me, that person, that person, that person. No, those are all separate beliefs, or separation beliefs. And separation belief goes hand in hand with feeling lonely. And what happens when we feel lonely? We feel abandoned. It's like if things aren't going in a certain way, then other can have control over me to create an illusion of abandonment. Okay, and so the abandonment that happens is the moment. How do I put this into words? The abandonment is never happening, okay? But when we have untrue beliefs, a separation belief, we can experience an abandonment at the drop of a hat, because this always gives our power away to other. We reinforce that belief in separation. And as long as I believe that separation and I'm together with other and everything's good, but I still believe in separation, I still believe it. But look, we're having dinner, we're connected, they're doing what I say, they're giving me compliments, they're doing what I want them to do, that's transactional, it's tit for that, it's still good, there's no separation. See, I don't believe in abandonment. The minute this person does whatever that goes off sideways, the minute the abandonment is triggered. Okay, and so we might be experiencing like a separation or a loss and saying, oh, I'm separate now. I'm abandoned now. I never felt loneliness and abandonment. No, but we always had the belief of separation. This just catalyzed this understanding. The belief was always there. And it took that person leaving, or the experience that we had, to see it magnified, this untruth. And the only way to resolve this untruth of separation is to focus on self-love, not through way of transaction, but through way of going in deep, allowing one to feel one's emotions without judgment, allowing one, giving one permission to really allow things to flow within them without judging them, and saying, I'm not allowed to feel that because that's bad. That's not good. That's not me. And I could feel this because this is good and this is how I want to be. Now we're manipulating. And when we truly accept ourselves, that's when we've realized we've reached self-love. If we put any parameters around what we can be and what we can't and what we should feel and what we shouldn't, that's not self-love. That's saying, I will only accept you if you carry these values or these beliefs or do this or look this way. But the minute you have anything that my mind thinks is bad, then I shun you, I shame you, or I don't let you online. If you don't let yourself online, that part of yourself feels unloved. The whole self needs to feel loved. All of you. The shame, the guilt, everything that resides there. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean allow yourself to be in shame and fear and sit there and say, I'm a sinner and I can just sit with all of this sort of energy and not do anything about it. That is to say, look at the shame that sits there. Look at the fear that sits there. Look at the judgment that sits there. All of that stuff is unreal. Okay? It's a belief, but it's not real. It is what is needing to be seen through and sat with and accepted and held like a child. I see you, fear. I see you, shame. I see you, judgment. I sit with you. I hold you. I accept you. I love you. I'm not trying to get you to disappear. I'm not trying to shut you down. I'm going to love you, all of you. And then we're on, our true self-love is online. The minute our true self-love is online, we see clarity. We see other. We connect different. Our relationships are deeper. We have a deeper understanding of the universe. We have a deeper understanding of self. We can really, really meet people where they're at with the true level of empathy rather than trying to protect ourselves or defend ourselves or say certain things or control narrative or manipulate energy so that we're the victor or we're exalted or they're going to be below us or whatever we're trying to do. And we could accept others where they're at. We don't have to want them to be different. We don't have to want ourselves to be different. Because we are different. We are all different. Oops. That's not good. We are all different. Every single one of us. And so our uniqueness must be accepted and seen. And so this person is difficult to be around because this person is very trying to maintain some identity of who they think that they need to be and should be and resisting parts of themselves. And so they're not listening. And they're very judgmental and they're very much learning about how to be flexible, how to relate with others, and welcome themselves so they can be welcomed. And I feel like this person is very fixed in certain beliefs and certain understandings of who they have to be and what they got to do. And I also feel like this person hasn't found their truest self. Because when we're too busy doing that, we're upkeeping. It's exhausting. We still haven't gone to the depths. And when we haven't gone to the depths, we don't know who we are. Why? Because there's parts of us that aren't online. And it's not saying that the shame and the fear and all of that stuff have to stay there and now it's your true self. But it means once I accept the shame and the fears and the darkness and the stuff that I was suppressing or saying, that's not me. I'm not like that. I'm not a cheater. I'm not a hater. I'm not someone who shows up late. I'm not someone who's lazy. I'm not. All the things we're not. But we are. We're all of those things. We might not behave in those ways. We might have integrated those things. But we carry all of those shadows. And so when we resist certain things because we've seen it in other, It's like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like my father. I don't want to be like my mother. And I resist that part of me. It goes into the shadow and we say we're not like that. Okay. And that's when it kicks up a storm because we're resisting, denying a part of ourselves. As long as we resist, deny a part of ourselves, we cannot truly love ourselves. Your high self is coming through here, or whoever's this is, if this is your person, coming through here saying the love of self is connected to embracing all of oneself. And it's going to resolve this feeling of feeling separate, alone, abandoned, rejected, because that is the heaviest pressure here. And when one can listen to oneself, one can listen to other. When one can show love for self, one can show love for other. Okay? And so I feel like there is a blessing here that this person is going to experience, but this person needs to like do this, whatever this is. Okay, now they don't have to do whatever they don't want to do, but unless they do this, then they experience suffering. So let's see, Spirit, clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of pile number 2. The connection they came here about. What does putting all these puzzle pieces together look like for pile number 2? What are we missing exactly? Is there anything regarding the connection specifically, or what this person needs to know that I've missed? Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of pile 2. Please protect me and the viewer as I channel this message for the greatest and highest good of pile 2. Please help me to channel in a way pile 2 will understand. And so this person could be experiencing cycles. Okay, but they're needing to do a lot of self-reflection. All right. Strength, ego, Leo energy, Page of Pentacles in reverse. So they could even literally feel very stagnant or like they can't move to new opportunity. And Spirit saying no. So this could be another piece of the puzzle. Why can't I move? Why do I feel stuck? It's because you're having to learn this lesson. Until you learn this lesson, Spirit's saying you can't create the new opportunity here. This is taking a lot of courage to work through the ego identity, work through the fears. It takes more courage than to do that than to go and face the external world and show courage in that way. There is no courage in the external world until the courage of the internal world is faced. Okay, yeah, the inner self needs to be examined, the subconscious, the emotions, to the depths. Because I feel this person doesn't allow themselves to go deep in their emotions. Nope. And they could think that they are, or they could do that as a reflect mechanism and not realize. It could just be so subconscious, because we have to, when we're conscious enough, we have to consciously choose. We have to be aware and then consciously choose to feel the deeper emotions. We have to consciously choose to go in deep. We have to consciously say, I am going in now to look at this, to feel this, to explore this, non-judgmental, but I'm going to do this. And not that we're a doer, because we're not really doing anything so much as it is an awareness. And Spirit is saying, at this point in time, I want you to be aware. At this point in time, be conscious enough to feel your emotions. At this point in time, I want you to go in deeper, because that's what you're called to do. Because under there's fears. And we're resisting by doing whatever it is we are choosing to do. So whatever this person's choosing to do is like resisting, okay? So 4 cups in reverse. So the 4 of Cups is the boredom card. The Spirit universe offers us a gift, a blessing. And so we could be completely like numb here. This person could be emotionally just numb. You know, just doing motions, engaged with other here. This does feel like a block in being able to feel one's emotions and not even realize, be completely unconscious about this, okay? 3 of Cups. So this is like friend groups. And this could be the level. I'm going to sneeze right now. Excuse me. All right. I don't know why I said excuse me first, but I thought I was going to sneeze again. So this is exactly it. It's like 3 cups isn't deep enough, This person could be one that keeps a lot of people around, could be one that socializes, or could be one that's socially awkward around a lot of people. But one thing is common with however it manifests in this person's world. It's like, I can only get to a 3 cups and I can't get deeper, even if I'm trying. Or for some people, they don't try and they keep it like this. It could be a conscious doing or a conscious undoing. But either way, this energy isn't going beyond the 3 cups because they need to do the self-work and they need to go in deep on their own consciously. Okay, yeah, 8 swords, limiting belief. Okay, the Hermit, they got to go inwards, like I said, on their own. It's all about themselves. And so instead of me doing the work, I'm going to go hang out with those people. Instead of me doing the work, I'm going to go try to see if I could heal or seek answers with other tarot readings or I don't know, whatever, rather than me really going inwards and ask myself tough questions. Because we can hear a whole bunch of knowledge. Okay, read books, listen to videos, self-help books, spiritual theory, crystals. I don't give a rat's behind. Whatever we're doing, we could do it until the cows come home. Until we actually integrate and sit within ourselves, that knowledge doesn't do anything. It doesn't make us more spiritual or integrated. It doesn't heal us more. Just because I know of these concepts, just because I know of these spiritual knowings, that does nothing. That just sits there on the surface, sitting there, doing nothing. Does not read more books or gain more knowledge or gain more understanding. No, this is all about integrating by going inwards. However this looks, meditating, asking one questions, journaling, but being open and honest. Why do I do that? Really observing oneself. And when this person is in action. So it's like really observing why I'm saying and doing what I'm saying and doing right now. Honestly, not too busy looking at that other person and then thinking what I'm going to say in this moment. But where is this coming from? What I just said. Is there a limiting belief right now? Is there a manipulation of energy? Am I trying to force outcome or create an image of myself here or drive some form of something? Because that's exactly how this person operates. And as long as they're acting like this, they're going to miss out on depth of connections. Ace of Swords in reverse. A 9 of Swords in the reverse. Page of Swords. The King of Wands in the reverse. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and then the 7 of Wands. So what this is telling me, this person could have definitely experienced an ending, painful ending, or could be experiencing painful endings. And it could be, like I said, for a lot of you guys, it could be on a repeat here, like disappointing situations or circumstances or events. And why does it keep happening like this? Because this person is being called to consciously rise above their current thought system because they're not seeing a great truth. They got to start to question their own minds. Lots of swords here. Mind. Okay? Their own mind is the biggest challenge because I think that they have a big fat ego, like I said, that thinks it already knows. And that's the worst kind. I know my ego. I know my limitations. I know I'm like this. I know I'm like that. I know. No, you're not. You're none of those things. How could you be? Because you're not your ego. You're not that identity. And then they'll use justification if they don't know. They can say, well, I admit I didn't know that. I admit I didn't know that. I admit it's like, no, it's not about what you know still. Get out of the knowing. It's not about the mind. And this is the frustrating part. It's like they want to categorize what I know, what I don't know, and then the more I know, and then justify it. It's like, no, it's not about the mind and the knowing. Get out of that. It's about the integration of an inner experience of self, and this comes from understanding one's own emotions, understanding what the feels, not an inner standing of mind or a mind understanding, but an inner standing of the feels. I don't know how else to explain it. There's a detachment here. Okay, and so I feel like this person is actually not very confident, and they're very defensive. And it's actually a very distasteful energy to be around, if I got to be honest. And it doesn't matter how successful, good looking, or how this person thinks they're wooing or manipulating the energy. They appear defensive to everyone. They appear like they think they know all the answers, or they're the ones that are like combative, or like virtuous, or something like this. They're exalting their own selves. Like there's nothing more, like, I hate to say it, but off-putting than someone who exalts themselves in ego, you know? And so again, not to create judgment here, but this needs to be observed, because the more this person does that, the more they create the separation, the more it's them against the world, the more it's like they won't be left in. They're not being let in because they're pushing themselves out. They're resisting to come in, so therefore people won't let them in. Like they're not getting what they want here, and so they want some form of an opportunity. And why are they stuck here? Spirit's saying, well, the nightmares will persist. The mind stories will persist. And the cracking open of this is to be curious, like this Page of Swords, and to say, Spirit, show me. And maybe I'm in my mind right now. And that's fine, as long as I start to question, am I in my mind right now, running with story? Or can I be curious enough to question my own mind and get it going? And once we start questioning our own mind, our own limitations, our own knowings, then we start to transform. Then we start to get into the emotional body. Because right now there's a lot suppressed here, because this person fears going in deep, and they feel rejected by society, and they feel abandoned, and they feel lonely, and they feel isolated, but they're the ones that are creating this, and they don't realize how they're doing it. And they will keep doing it this way as long as they keep doing the same method, the manipulating method. And then they think, well, maybe then I just need to know more, or maybe then I just need to make more friends, or maybe then I just know. Those are all coming from the same angle. It's external seeking, external. No, this is internal, all about self-love, all about self-acceptance, non-judgment, so that one can then be easy to sit around with empathy, with listening, with understanding, with compassion. Okay, but like I mentioned at the beginning here, their spiritual gifts are definitely coming online here. And the more they're able to tap into this self-love and acceptance, the more the third eye and the more connected they are to spirit. And that's what they're being divinely guided to do here. That's why it feels very transcendent. That's why it feels very spiritual, because it is. Because this person's being called to rise above with their level of consciousness here, not stay in this sort of transactional, lower level, superficial engagement, because they don't know who they are. And if they don't know who they are, how are they going to engage with other in that energy? They'll never be fully appreciated or seen or accepted. Then they'll feel abandoned because they're not allowing their true self to come online. So as long as my false self, the self that thinks it knows, that's only 10% of this person's being, the things I know, the things I could say, my witty words, the books I've read, the knowledge I have, my spiritual wisdom, that's like 10% of who this person is. That's the only part coming online. And so when that part comes online, them thinking this is all of me, and it's not, and everyone else just is not getting 90%, nobody can engage with this person. Then this person feels abandoned, thinking, well, I just put all myself out there. It's like, no, you put 10% of yourself out there. 10% of yourself. That's why you feel rejected, abandoned, alone, isolated, because you're not allowing your feelings to come through here. I'm just trying to be witty, trying to outthink, outsmart, you know? No one wants to be around that. And not in a judgment way, but neither would you. And so there's a true version of you in here. And there's an ability to get deep, because this isn't well, I'm just the type of person who can't get deep. No such thing. It doesn't exist. That's a trauma, that's a shadow, that's a subconscious wounding, that's a limiting belief. And that's what's going away. And that's why we're stuck in this sort of thing, because we're having to overcome this. We're having to see the great old truth. And only once the great old truth is seen, and we have the courage to face it and call the egos like it is, and have humility, and really connect with other from a true place of compassion and seeing with the real ears and eyes of the present moment. Then we have a new beginning. And I think this person really wants a new beginning, but they're stunted here. New beginning, forget about it. Because we have big old blocks. Okay? Pile number 2, this is your reading. I hope this helped you. I love you very much. I'll see you at the next one. All right, bye-bye. Beautiful angel, pile number 3. You guys picked the White Sage bundle. Let's get into your reading, shall we? So you guys can skip ahead, okay, if you're wanting to go straight away to your channeled message, but I do suggest that you go listen to the disclaimer. We're looking at putting all the pieces together for this connection. Okay, now I could be tapped into one energy, your energy, person you're dealing with energy, big fat question marks regarding whatever this connection is or this person. I don't know how it comes out. It's not your message. It's not your message. Don't force it to fit. No need to convince me in the comments. You're just arguing with yourself. Let's take a look. Spirit, clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of pile number 3 regarding, regarding this connection, person on their mind. Can we put the puzzle pieces together for pile number 3 regarding this connection, this person? What is it that pile 3 is needing to understand completely so that they could make sense of this person, this situation, this connection clearly? Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good. Please protect me and the viewer as I channel this message for the greatest and highest good of pile number 3. Thank you so much, pile 3, for allowing me to tap into your energy and the energy around you at this time. I'm so blessed to be here doing your reading. No, not that one. All right, this is a big deck. I'm going to move it over. Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of pile 3. Can we put the puzzle pieces together here for pile 3 and this person they came here about and the connection? What is it that they're not understanding or needing to understand or see? Can we put the confusing pieces together for pile number 3 at this time? Thank you, Spirit. We have rebellion showing up. I feel like that one was sliding out the bottom. Okay. For pile number 3, Spirit, what is it that pile 3 is needing to hear regarding this person, situation, circumstance that needs to be put together so that they can get clarity around this? Okay. Wow. Lots here too. Okay, so let's get into it. We have 31 and 4. Authenticity, relationship skill, ego level, depth of feelings, being different, inner truth, originality, being romantic, emotional, intensity. Type 4, the individualist, emotional center between lack and abundance. Okay, and we have peacemaking, 108 and 9. Return to the world, growth level, peacemaking, ecological initiatives, discussion circles, peace programs, spiritual retreats, meditation projects, psychological support. Type 9, the peacemaker, instinctive center between forgetting and asserting oneself. Rebellion. Mars in Aquarius, the number 11. Okay. And we have altruism. Number 2, compulsion, ideal, ego level, self-forgetfulness, self-sacrifice, love, devotion, generosity, being at service. Type 2, the helper, emotional center between giving and receiving with the root chakra. And we have passion, 71, relationship trap, stress level, passion, intense fascination, ardent affectivity, impetuosity, exaltation. Oh my goodness, I'm having a hard time reading. Getting carried away, irresistible attraction. Type 8, the challenger, instinctive center between strength and weakness with the number 8. And then we have 39 and 3, vanity, arrogance, vainglory, pride, disdain, sufficiency, and high self-esteem. Type 3, the achiever, emotional center between appearance and authenticity, more solar plexus. And we have forgiveness, more solar plexus here, 90 and 9. Happy event, growth level. It says admitting fault, active mercy, clemency, apologies, gracefulness, and reconciliation. Type 9, the peacemaker, instinctive center between forgetting and asserting oneself. And we have righteousness, 28 and 1. Relationship skill, ego level. Moral values, integrity, respect, rigor, honesty, and reliability. Type 1, the perfectionist, instinctive center between control and letting go. Okay. And then we have 84 and 3 with success. Achievement, happy event, luck, winning, prosperity, and good fortune. Type 3, the achiever, emotional center between appearance and authenticity. Wow. A lot of solar plexus happening down here. What do we have? We have authority, Mars in Capricorn with the number 10. Wow. Okay. I'm feeling it this way. Okay, and then we have being successful, right by success. Look at that. 3, veil of ignorance, all-consuming ambitions, lack of authenticity, falsehood, workaholic, competitiveness, appearances, valuation. Type 3, the achiever, emotional center between appearing and authenticity. Yeah, there's a lot of this sort of thing going on here. Hold on. Just put that like that. Okay. Yeah, and then, oh my goodness, divine union, 99 and 9, mystical union, growth level, universal interconnection, universal compassion, self-presence, inner peace, unconditional love, acceptance of conflicts. Type 9, the peacemaker, instinctive center between forgetting and asserting oneself. All solar plexus, my goodness. And here we have mystical experience, growth level, 82 and 1, liberty, liberation from limits, high mind, intuition, letting go, ethical alignment, deep inner peace, grace, and forgiveness. Type 1, the perfectionist, instinctive center between control and letting go. Wow. My goodness. And then we have a remote island, 210, which is the number 3. Emotionally cut off, healing far. Is this a far or for? Healing far away from others, escape or avoidance, hidden treasures. And then we have charity. And this is Saturn in Cancer with the number 4. And then we have riches, Saturn in Capricorn with the number 10. 10, coming through here. Capricorn coming through twice. Riches, success. Oh my goodness. Can you guys see where they are? Yeah, okay. Shapeshifter, 73 and 10. And 34 and 7, it says quest for answers, ego level, joyfulness, benefits of going deeper, maintaining interest, project concept, bearing the pain, acceptance of limits, long-term satisfaction, type 7 enthusiast, thinking center between pleasure and pain. Okay. And then we have martyr complex, 235, parent or family member who sacrifices everything and uses guilt to maintain control or moral superiority. Interesting. Then we have Solulu, 166. Solution. Being a bit delusional can be the solution to achieving one's dreams. Having absolute faith. Okay. That's funny. And then we have exaltation. Moon in Cancer. Or, my goodness, in Taurus. Let me do this. You guys can skip ahead and I will begin to tap into this energy. Okay, pile number 3. Like I always say, if it's not your energy, then it's the person that you came here about, okay? Because I am asking about the pieces being put together for this connection in regards to whoever you came here about. And this could certainly be, like I always say, flipped, okay? Not who you intended to see, but the answers come through in this way, whatever spirit wants you to understand, but don't force it. And if it's not your message, then it's not your message. So we have Taurus and Libra, okay? And we have strong divine feminine. And then we also have Virgo and Cancer, a very heavy Virgo here, okay? And then we also have Gemini, Leo, Pisces, and I don't know if I said Aries and Scorpio, but that's definitely here. Okay, and then some Capricorn, some Taurus, and some... Yeah, I said Aries, right? And some Scorpio, okay? So I do feel this is your energy, okay? And it's really giving off, and if it's not yours, then just reverse it, flip it, okay? Or whatever. I really feel like it's talking about your experience in this connection, because that's what we asked about, or meeting this person, or whatever this connection has done, okay, in order to remove the veil, the cloak of mystery, so that you understand what's going on. This is talking about divine union here, okay? So if you want to be fast and you want to skip all of my jibber jabber, why did this happen or what's happening here, it's all for divine union. What does divine union look like, Spirit? Well, divine union means you end up in a state where you're completely transcended beyond a level of understanding before you experience this connection, where you've learned about unconditional love, working through conflict in the 3D world, finding a sense of inner peace, being able to connect everyone and everything with this universal compassion and universal interconnection, knowing that you are a part of the divine creator and a part of everyone and everything. Okay, so you could be coming into divine union with self and other. And when I say other, I mean all of God's sentient beings, not necessarily another. Okay, this is the purpose of your journey, wherever you're at. And like, because of the nature of this reading, I'm not seeing exactly where you're at, and I'm not doing that type of a reading. What I'm doing is I'm peeling the veil back, and I don't know, everyone's in different places. Okay, and so that's the aim. That's the purpose of this journey, no matter how painful it might be. And I do believe it could be very, very painful. Why? Because in order for us to stretch, grow, expand, in order for us to see what we must see, we have to have contrast. Okay, and so there's a lot happening here with the solar plexus. This person that I'm reading here really, really was tied to a sense of identity. And I'm not saying it was necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I think this person might created a very successful image of themselves. Could have been very tied to, and I said could have, okay, because I'm talking past tense. So I don't know. Maybe this person's already transcended past this. I don't know if they have or haven't, but you'll know. But anyway, they're very tied to an understanding of a material gain equates to a certain reflection of value. Okay, and so when we have that identity, that means we carry the belief that the more I do, the more I achieve, the more I have, the more I'm seen, the more I'm appreciated, the more I'm valued, the higher up I go in rank or understanding or value, or the more I could be loved. And that can't be farther from the truth. But we believe it this way because we are either brought up this way, we experience it this way through society, through our lived experience. Okay, and so I feel like this person could say that they had a healthy ego. They could say this, okay? It really does feel like a healthy type ego, but you know how I feel about healthy ego. No ego is healthy. Why? Because the ego will disguise itself as healthy and good. And the minute something isn't aligned, it automatically goes into blaming and shape-shifting. And we're continuously seeking the next best thing, the next position, the next upgraded car, the next rank, the next job, the next house, whatever this is. And so this is a true break free from a spiritual, in spiritual order, where we go from the body and the identity of the ego that's creating a success to a closer understanding of the real truth of the divine nature. Because the divine nature is that the divine creator makes everyone and everything. Okay, everything and everyone in this universe has been created by the divine. And that essence is the value. It's not the body, the form, or what that body or form can attain through way of job, through way of victory in achieving certain material outcomes. That doesn't determine the value. The value is the essence, the pure being behind that body. And so unless we experience this and know this, we continuously have to prove oneself or upkeep this rat race, this image, this identity, and then we get very tied to it. And so the more successful we are, the more we believe we are it, and the harder it is for us to peel away from it, because it's like, well, this version of me has brought me happiness, has brought me success, has brought me a paycheck, has brought me this, has brought me that. It's like, no, it's not the identity that has brought this. We're just attached to that identity. And so we start to think it was us. We did this, our ego, my identity. It's like, no, you're not your identity and you're not this. And so the breaking of the identity allows us to see behind the curtain. And so this connection / whatever experience has brought online this person in order for them to connect to their authentic self. The authentic self goes beyond the ego and the identities, beyond what their successes have been here in the material world, to connect to a deeper sense of their essence, who they truly are, so that they could connect to a depth of feelings. Because what transcends egoic pleasures is that of joy. Joy cannot be reproduced with material pleasure. True joy is felt in the soul. True joy is when we can be in the present moment and we could transcend past pains and we could accept reality as it is. That's when we're most joyful. But when we are still an ego and identity, the present moment could be very painful when we don't have certain outcomes, achievements. Look at me, I fail. Look at me, I'm not as successful. Look at me, I'm not doing something right now. I got to be doing, I got to be proving, I got to be, no. This is all about, in the present moment, I'm okay with what is. And so there are certain limitations that exist because of the divine creator. This isn't, oh, I'm incapable, I suck, and I guess the divine has all power, so I just sit here doing nothing. It's like, no. It's knowing in the present moment, being so in tune with the divine, being so conscious that we could make yes, no decisions, and we could be in dance with the universe, and be completely in the present moment without chasing, seeking, attaining, having to prove oneself, exhausting oneself. Okay? Because this isn't true joy. Yes, there's moments of happiness, but then there's also peaks of disappointment, and then, or there's valleys of disappointment, and there's peaks of happiness. Okay? And so the divine creator always has the wheel. And the divine creator wants to show to this person, hey, I have the wheel. There's something you're needing to see beyond the veil of how you think reality works. A more blissful place for you to sit that isn't with peaks and valleys. That isn't just riding the happiness and the disappointments. It's true peace and joy is always there. And you don't need to seek it or chase it. And you'll be satisfied. Even when things don't seem like they're working out, you're still satisfied because you've connected to a greater depth of truth. And so there's a need here for this person, which is very challenging, okay? And this might take some time to let go. Let go of ego, let go of certain material things, let go of certain relationships, let go of certain identities, because they are finding an inner peace that's very deep. And this comes with showing a lot of grace and a lot of forgiveness. And this person could go through periods of time where they might even not know how to get there, And so it could certainly be a lot of spiritual groups, spiritual concepts, spiritual communities are coming online, because it's like when we can't, when we're no longer in the old world that we were, the ego wants to cling on to the next thing, so it could create another identity, an identity in the spiritual world, an identity of something that now I could find happiness and plateaus in another world that's different than that, but at least it's spiritual, right? It's like, no, that's still not spiritual, because the spirituality is not, I mean, spirituality is everything, of course, because it's the divine creator, but being more in tune with one's truest essence, being more conscious, means seeing through the identity of the ego. Whether the ego identity says it's more Christ-like or more Buddha-like or more peaceful, it's still saying that it's attaching to an identity. And so it still exists. It's just shapeshift into another form, but it still exists. And so when we're transcending past ego, when we really want to reach a true state of divine union with self, we must work through that spiritual ego that's created another identity. The true joy cannot exist when that ego still exists, when that identity still exists. Yes, it might have a different form, a different attachment, a different story, a different narrative, but it's still there. This is what goes away when we're present, when we're conscious of it. So this person is learning about the truth of who they are. They're learning about integrity as a soul and what's honest and truthful for themselves, that transcends past monetary gain and an illusion of fantasy. Okay, and so how this might have got started is, I feel like this person could have certainly got catalyzed by this connection. Okay, so there's a drive that this person has. And I think this person, there's nothing wrong with having a fire and a passion and a drive, okay? But when we're truly working through shadow, we have to collapse and we have to dissolve before we can truly see what's there. Otherwise, we don't fully see what's there, and we're sort of just shape-shifting into the next form. And so no true healing or shadow work has really been, like the meat of the shadow work still hasn't been done here. The only thing that might have been done is I see through my old way, my old identity, my old, okay, if they're even here yet, okay, but they are being called to see this. The old vanity, the old job, the old title, the old identity doesn't do it anymore. They know they're being called for something more spiritual, and now they could have shapeshift into this other spiritual being or this other title, if you will, so their identity. And Spirit saying, no, true altruism does not come from that. And as long as we're not in true altruism, but a manufactured spiritual altruism, then we cannot connect to that, of which is the most joy, the most divine. We can't, because we can't see it. And Spirit wants this person to connect to unconditional love, wants this person to connect to their truest authenticity that is beyond this ego, beyond the spiritual ego, beyond their action. Because right now, I think this person is putting up, the only thing I could say is a spiritual ego here, okay? At some point in time, whether they're doing this yet or coming into this, I don't know. And so what we do is we exalt ourselves. And as long as we're exalting ourselves, then we are not seeing ourselves as the divine, because the divine sees everyone and everything as the divine creation. The divine doesn't see something more superior than other, something more transcended than other. And every single journey is absolutely spiritual. Even if there's like unconscious awareness, even if someone is completely in the dark, you know, if they're completely in shadow, if they're still unconscious, if they're still unaware, if they don't know of a greater spiritual level of understanding, it's still equally as spiritual. And so there is no exaltation here. And so this takes humility. This takes truth. This takes seeing beyond the ego that's now formed a different identity. And why does the ego want this and hang on to this sort of an angle here? Because it's still it needs something to hang on to. It still needs something that it feels is still solid. So it's going to hang on, kicking and screaming, because the last thing it wants to do is be executed in a way that it dissolves and is being seen through. So it tries to create a superiority in some sort of complex where it's in control. Okay, and it's resisting falling away. And it resists falling away, and so it's going to do whatever it takes to convince oneself that it needs to be there and why it needs to be there. It's my individuality, it's my spiritual self, it's my more conscious self that knows more, it's my whatever it's telling itself, it's going to believe it. Okay, but Spirit is saying there's something that comes online once we trust where the process is going, once we actually let go of that ego. And it is very scary to do. And that is trusting of the divine nature, stepping into the blind, not knowing, and going in there with absolutely nothing. Okay, with nothing. Because when we go in there with nothing, that is when we can only truly see what the truth is. And the ego will make up all stories why it can't let go of that, or why it needs that sort of identity, or hanging on to that story. Okay, I hope this is making sense, but I feel like Spirit wants to give this person, and I do feel it's you, a gift here. And this gift is one of divine union. Okay, and it's the best gift you could possibly get because it's one that's centered in the heart space. So we're going to pull the tarot. I just want to make sure that I still have time in the recording. Yeah, we're going to pull the tarot here and ask Spirit for a clear and concise message for pile number 3. What is it that is putting the puzzle pieces together here for pile 3 in regards to the connection that they came here about, the person they came here about? What are they needing to understand here? Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good. What have I missed? What do they still not understand? What questions do they still have? Clear and concise message. Please protect me and the viewer as I channel this message for the greatest and highest good. Please help me to explain this in a way that the viewer will understand. Spirit, thank you so much. I'm so blessed to be here. And thank you so much, pile 3, for allowing me to tap into your energy, the energy around you at this time. I feel a very spiritual energy here. So you're a very beautiful soul here, okay? But I feel like there's still more here that is needing to be seen through. All right, it's not really coming through so much as the connection, but maybe as a result of connection. Okay, but it's maybe preparing you for some divine union here for sure. Okay, so we have Temperance. Yeah, beautiful. So what is the Temperance card? When we are in Temperance, we're completely in a beautiful balanced state, healed. We're able to carry the masculine and feminine polarity. We're able to carry both polarities without being discombobulated, without being tipped too much to one side, emotionally driven or mentally driven, or like this is a beautiful, peaceful state I'm getting. Okay, I'm also getting divine guidance because Temperance usually shown with an angel. So you're being divinely guided. Now I'm saying you because I do feel this is your energy, but whatever, flip it if you have to, but divinely guided to get a state of balance, healed union with self, where we're in complete self-mastery of our emotions and our masculine feminine polarity, and we're not discombobulated. Okay, beautiful energy. That is the reason, the purpose of this divine guidance, this journey you're on, this connection, whatever you're experiencing here. Okay, yeah, very divine guidance, divine fated, whatever you want to call it, major arcana. Okay, this is also masculine feminine coming together to create, to integrate. It's beautiful. Okay, 8 Pentacles in reverse, and the World in reverse, and the 8 of Cups, and the Death, Scorpio energy, and we have the 10 of Wands, and the 5 of Cups, and then the 10 of Cups here, which came sort of as an afterthought in the reverse. So, 10-10 World, which another 10. 10s are all about completions, ends of cycles, and transformation. Okay, so we're at the end of a cycle, a timeline here. It's fated, it's divine. We got to repeat as many cycles as it takes till we see the great lesson. There's still something closing here. It hasn't fully closed. Okay? And we could shapeshift, like I said, 50,000 different ways in the cycle because we still don't see through the eyes of the divine. Okay? Because the ego likes to create a veil of understanding and shapeshift all the time to stay alive because it's fighting for its life. It feels like death. Only when the ego finally dies can we finally transform and successfully close out a timeline and a cycle to have a brand new beginning. This person's assured a brand new beginning, okay? A beautiful, harmonious beginning where this person can truly be centered, healed, and at peace with oneself, okay? And it goes through a process of death, essentially. The old self is dying here, which is a very heavy process. Okay, and so unless that's experienced, then this person can't come into harmony and experience a 10 cups, which would mean coming together with other to create two halves, okay? Two halves coming together to create a happily ever after. And this is sort of a gift from the divine creator once self-union or self-mastery is done. But the heaviness here is going through the journey. Because why? Because Spirit, I'm experiencing disappointment. I'm experiencing loss. I'm experiencing all sorts of negative things here. And Spirit says, who's experiencing the negativity? Is it the ego that we still think we are? Who's experiencing rejection and loss? And it's easy to get into this mind story. Oh, I'm still not getting what I want. I'm still rejected. I'm still disappointed. I'm still burdened by this journey. I'm still carrying, It's like, as long as we believe in that narrative story, and I'm not downplaying it because we could certainly feel this way, but it's that story that we're carrying that needs to end that cycle. As long as we believe we're that I, we're still shape-shifting. That I is now thinking it's in a story, you know? It's thinking that it's getting somewhere, that it's on a timeline, that it's an entity, that it's going to be carried by spirit, and it's like, no, there's no it here, there's no I. There is no story, there is no disappointment, there is no heaviness. There is an experience, and they're saying, but it's not happening to anyone. And so this is the thing Spirit is saying right now, because I do feel we're getting a very snapshotty look at what's next for this person. Okay, and so the piece of the puzzle here is we must walk away from this narrative, this story, because this won't go away on its own. We're always going to be disappointed or looking back on something that might come up as a thought, but it's how do we dance with that thought, or what do we attribute or ascribe to that thought or that feeling or that experience? If we say it was me who got the loss, it was me, I, the little self, that's lost, that's disappointed, that's experiencing the rejection or experiencing another cycle or experiencing, it's like, we'll forever keep this alive. That ego will not die. Thus, we got to walk away from that. That's the true death of the ego. Okay? Because I feel like we could keep repeating cycles here. And Spirit's saying the work here that needs to be done is in closing out the cycle proactively closing this out. Then we've reached a state of self-mastery, healing, balance, and we could create beautiful harmony and union. Two can come together here with this divine union, or we can be in conscious choice. Once we're in divine union with self, we're in complete self-presence, complete inner peace. We understand the depth of unconditional love, accepting of conflicts, accepting of limitations, and we can proactively, consciously choose a 10 cups. But when we're not dissolving the ego, when we still think we're the ego, when we still think we're the one on the journey, the one being burdened, the one being rejected, the one missing out, the one that's disappointed, the one that got the short end of the stick, then this will be our forever story. Okay, and so the journey here, the fated journey, is to identify this and walk away from this mindset so that we can finally close this out, finally release it, and finally have a beautiful new beginning here that is absolutely peaceful, divinely guided. And it's all about shedding the ego. And I love this strength in the light. Okay, in the shadow, it's ego, of course. In the light, it's like having grace. And I do feel you had a card here that talked about grace. Yeah, grace and forgiveness. And so what is this? It's knowing how to ride in grace, knowing when to move forward, when to hold back, but when to sort of how to navigate at the end of the day. Because if we're too aggressive and forceful and in an ego here and a drive and I'm the doer and I'm the I and I'm unstoppable and I'm like, it's not understanding this concept, because sometimes silence is much stronger than words, and sometimes doing nothing is the best course of action. And sometimes we got to face the great fear and do what we might be fearing doing. And so I feel like Spirit wants to humble you, but put you in the greatest high, and we're all in the greatest high, but it's like exalted here in the 3D, because I feel like you're a beautiful soul and I feel like you have something to contribute, and we can only really be at our highest capacity of contribution when Spirit totally exalts us in this position. Okay, but we don't do it. The ego doesn't exalt ourselves. The Spirit does it. We don't develop the martyr complex. Spirit says, you are now understanding this beautiful divine union, this beautiful balanced self. And now you're in a position here to come to the 3D world and be that of service, be that of your truest self, and drive whatever this is, okay, in a way that co-creates with the divine creator, rather than you being an independent self thinking it's the ego doing a certain something in the matrix. Okay, essentially that's what this is about. So you had a connection, you are being divinely guided, you are being divinely healed, it is fated, you and whoever here most likely will come together. Okay, and if it's not this person you were sort of catalyzed into, Spirit is assuring you a beautiful, successful connection, a happily ever after here. Okay, once we sort of integrate whatever we're needing to integrate here and not get stuck, especially at the very end here. This might be the final step here. The final step here to close this out is to release and have this complete. This is an ego death, okay? This isn't just shedding identities and understandings and beliefs. This is, I've lost all sense of I. I'm even letting go of the disappointing story here that, I'm the one going through this. And even I'm guilty of this, okay? Like, oh, my Kundalini, I'm going through blah, blah, blah. Am I? And we do want to hang on to a sense of identity when we fear, where we might lose a sense of self. But that's just the ego talking. There is no I. That's just the mind that carries that story, There's still personality. There's still drive. There's still purpose. There's still mission. There just isn't an I claiming it. There just isn't an ego sort of masquerading, dressing around like it's the one that's created this thing, when it never has, it never will. It's the divine creator, always has been. We just don't see it. That's the illusion. And when we see through this illusion, we've reached a state of divine union, a state of complete peace, okay? This is what this person is doing here. And so this is the only instruction I'm seeing. Walk away from that mindset. Emotional disappointment. That's where the heaviness is, okay? We're right at the very end here. Beautiful angel, I love you so much. I do feel your sense of altruism. I do feel your beautiful energy here, full of compassion, full of service to other, okay? And full of beautiful drive here in the 3D. And so I do feel like you're going to contribute, but Spirit really wants you to work with Spirit, to contribute in the areas Spirit wants you to contribute. Okay, be in complete openness to Spirit, because if the ego starts running with agenda, we've closed off to Spirit, and then the ego thinks it knows better. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be a tarot reader. I'm going to be. It's like, are you? Or are we just letting the ego sort of drive in a different area now? We have to be still and listen to Spirit and put our hands out and say, Spirit, show me the greater truth here. What is it that I'm embodying here? And you will be guided. And it is beautiful, okay? Because I feel like what you will experience here is this beautiful joyfulness. This is where Spirit's guiding you. There must be trust here, okay? And know that there are limitations, of which the Creator knows of. But do not create any limitation. You're not limited. Okay? Spirit is saying if there are any limitations, Spirit is the one that's creating whatever limitation. That's not one that's self-created. And just go with the flow. Trust in the divine. Okay? Beautiful angel, I love you so, so much. I'm so honored to do your reading. And bless you. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye-bye.